So, welcome to Scrapbook Live. I am Megan Jax. Today is February 15th. We have a really fun project today from the Creative Memories blog. It's this lovely layout here with the 4 photos in the middle, and then you're just going to be punch happy all the way around. The punches and embellishments and stickers and whatever you want to decorate all the way around it. I am going to be following kind of close to the measurements and all the fun stuff here that's on the handout. If you need that handout, you can go to my website. If you're watching this on Facebook Live, you'll see it's the first comment in the live stream. There'll be a link to it. Or if you're watching this later on YouTube, it's in the description below. So you can go ahead and check that out. There's also a link on my blog to the original blog post if you want to check it out on the Creative Memories website. It's so many great projects out there. As you guys have known from doing the Scrapbook Lives, it's just wonderful ideas and inspiration. So definitely be sure you're checking that out. So let me go ahead and switch over to my desktop and we'll go ahead and get started. So for my today's project, we're going to be using I'm using the Endless Meadows collection, but you might recognize these are stickers from the National Scrapbook Day collection from last year. So they just worked with the colors, which I'm sure Creative Memories plans when they do these things, is the colors that are kind of in this National Scrapbook Day sometimes can lend themselves going into the spring collection. We'll see if that holds true this year. We should see a debut of the spring collection come the beginning of March. But I have these wonderful photos of my middle child when they were little. So cute, just adorable. The first thing I'm going to tell you what I did is when I was looking at the measurements here, because we have square photos, they want us to use photos that are 3 1/4 inch wide or square. I couldn't crop down quite that small. I had a couple of photos where her face was just a little bit bigger. So I opted where they double mat, that you'll see they have one big square mat and then they individually mat all of the 4 spaces. I am not going to do that. I'm just going to use the larger mat and then put my photos, I cropped to 3 1/2 inch squares, because I am using all 4 spots for photos. And that way, I just had a little bit more space with my photos. So if that might be something you find yourself needing to do, is if you just can't get those squares quite down small enough, you can go ahead and just bump it out by 1. Instead of double matting, essentially, you just mat them directly to the square. And you can see right here, I've already got that square cut. This square is the 7 1/2 inches that they talk about in step 5. So I just wanted to point that out so that I don't forget to point it out later, that my photos are the 3 1/2 inch square. They fit nicely on the 7 1/2 inch mat with a nice border all the way around. So with that in mind, I am using the Endless Meadows collection, as I mentioned before. This is a collection that I sometimes don't always find myself using the spring collection as much as I could. My photos just don't always tend to lean themselves that direction. So this one actually worked great. I'm going to be using a lot more of just these tonal colors, not so much the patterns. I will be bringing in some patterns, but for the most part, you're going to see here that I've got papers. I've got the purple, there's the yellow, the purple, this peachy color, and then of course the blue. And I'm going to be punching some squares from these. You can see I was already starting to play with it just a little bit to get an idea of how I liked everything. I do have some other pieces here. This is scraps. I literally went through my Endless Meadows folder and just started pulling scraps. Just in case I do need a little bit of lighter toned things in here to just lighten it up a little bit. I've got some of those that I can pull from as well. And then the other thing I grabbed was the mats. And the reason I grabbed the mats is because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't have a lot of use for these mats. I buy everything from the collection, and I already had punched some, and I was going to show you guys what I'd already punched. But what I've done is I went through the mats and I found bits that I'll be able to use my square punch. I'm going to use the square punch, and I'm going to actually just punch out these little goldfinch. And I punched, you can see here, I punched this little flower over here. I can do the same thing over here and just give myself a little hint of pattern and detail out of these mats. I'm looking at these mats thinking I wasn't going to use them for anything else. So I might as well just grab those details here, and we're going to see that that square punch does a really great job of making that easy to just punch those pieces. So let me find some of the mats I knew I could look at and say, oh, I'll use those for another project. A lot of the stuff that's real solid tonal, I'll use those for something else. So I stayed away from those. But any of the ones that had a little bit more floral detail that's just not necessarily something I like a lot of in my layouts. This particular one I grabbed, I already punched one, but I'll punch another one to grab this grass at the bottom. And I think I'm going to set this one aside to use. I might want to grab those butterflies. Here we can see, I don't know if that's lavender. It's makes me think maybe it's lavender, the flowers. But I'm just going through and looking for, if I wasn't already using green here on my base, I might grab this. The bumblebees are cute, but I might use that as a regular mat. I don't know. So that's the thing to go through here. And I'm just looking at stuff that I may not necessarily use the mat any other way. I'm going to stick with those for now. So really this layout just comes down to a lot of just playing around. I've already got, you know, some of this work done where oh, here they all are. I knew I'd punched a bunch of things, right? So I've got my square punch, and I know you guys may be thinking, well, it's a little ridiculous to have a square punch, but you're going to see how easy this is going to make this to put together. The nice thing about this is all of my squares are going to be the same size. They're not going to be just slightly smaller than another one. And I don't have to, especially as I'm trying to work here in these mats, I can easily just put this in here and move it around, and I can see what exactly am I punching. If I try to cut this square just from, you know, just cut it into a 1 3/4 inch square, it would be a lot more challenging, right? I'm going to have to think a lot harder. Where do I start the cut? But there, I've got that piece. The same thing to be said for these goldfinch. I will just be able to come in here and take a peek. Well, do I want that one? Are they, I think they're bigger on the back side. Yep, they're bigger over there. So I'm going to cut them from this side. And I'm going to go ahead and punch. And so there we can see it's easy to get those pieces. I'm going to punch another grass. I already punched one. I'm still going to be able to maintain if I want that fresh air title at the top. And so these pattern pieces will mix all the way around with my solid pieces. Go here with the butterfly. Now the butterfly, I was able to get in far enough. I might still be able to use that as a mat, depending on the size of the photo I put on there. So I've got some various pieces that I will be able to work with. Punches I grabbed the new lace butterfly. It just came out in the secret box. I thought that was going to be very appropriate. I've got the sun punch. This is from a few years ago. It is retired, so you won't be able to, you'd have to look for that on the resale market. And the same thing for the dragonfly punch. This came out a few years ago. But the dragonfly punch, I think, works really nicely with the butterfly punch. So that's going to be, I've got those 3 punches to choose from. And then of course I've got my square, the square punch here. And then there's some additional embellishments that I could grab from this sheet. So you may have other stickers, other embellishments you want to choose. I went through my embellishments from my, the Endless Meadows. I wasn't 100% enamored with it. I had a lot of floral stuff left, and I really don't want to accent too much floral. That's why I grabbed things like the butterfly, the sun, and the dragonfly. Those might be a little bit more. I could grab the bumblebee punch or use the little bees and the ladybugs. And I do have the bug trio punch if I need to go grab it. So I've got some options. The biggest thing is going to be getting all of those pieces put on. And the other thing I wanted to do, and I forgot to grab it, and I got to think, where did I put it, is I need my corner rounder. I am going to use, there it is. I am going to be using the corner rounder. In the original layout itself here, they have done all 4 corners on all the small pieces here. They've corner rounded everything on these small squares. I am going to try to get away with just doing 2, the opposite corners. So we can take here, for example, this, the butterfly, and I'm just going to do opposite corners. It's a little bit of a mod look. Or I guess I call it the mod look. I mean, all 4 corners, if you do all 4 corners, that's still kind of a mod look. The corner rounder, I think when you do with the squares, is just kind of a fun. You want to be consistent. The other thing that is going on when I'm doing the just 2, it takes half the time, right? You guys don't have to see me using corner rounders on everything. So I'm going to go ahead. I've got some of the squares already punched from my Endless Meadows, and I'm just going to do the corner around them. I do have a pattern to these pieces. You can see here this pattern. I can either go horizontal or vertical. I want to go ahead and do vertical with it, so I got to keep that in mind when I'm punching. I want to hold it vertical and just keep those. And I'm just working right now. I'm going to punch what I've got already. I'm going to corner around what I already have punched, and then I'll come back in and add in additional, pull additional pieces. So I think I punched one of all the colors to see if they would look good. The other, don't forget, if you have the double side, the 2-way corner rounder, you could come in and do the corner rounder, that notched corner. That's always fun to do. I'm going to need more of my, these pieces here. So I'll just go ahead and grab. I sometimes like working from the back side, because what I'm going to be able to do, especially with this, the square, is it's going to let me really be precise on where I put it, so I can really be efficient with my paper. So I'm going to punch 2 more. I'll probably have more squares than I need, but I just want to get them punched and kind of out of the way. Like I said, the great part about using the square punch is I know these are all squares that are going to be the same size. I don't have to worry about, using my trimmer and making these small little cuts, and then, oh my gosh, one is a 1/16 of an inch bigger than the other, and they don't line up right. Got to trim off that wavy edge. All right, so I should have 2 additional at each of these colors. So I'm going to go ahead and do the corner rounders on them and work on getting them placed. Probably the biggest challenge on this one is going to be the spacing. And it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be a hard challenge. It's just going to be the area where you're probably going to need to spend a little bit of time to make sure you get all the pieces spaced how you want them. If you've got a ruler available, you're going to want your trimming mat for sure. You can see I've got my 13 by 13 mat here. If you've got a T-square or another ruler, that can be really helpful as you're trying to line things up. I'll move these around a bit more. I may need to go back and punch some more of my details too. So to figure out you'll need 6. So I have 5 here. I need 1 more down here. If I go with a and I'm just looking for some good spacing. Sometimes I stick a little bit with that pattern of, you know, kind of got that peach, blue, purple, yellow, peach, blue, purple, squeeze in one of these. Yellow can come in here with maybe the peach and then come in with that. I'm probably going to maybe need to punch 1 more. So I'm going to need peach, yellow, blue, I think. It's not going to quite work out to be an equal pattern. So maybe I'll go blue and purple here. I see a question about the square punch. I believe this 1 3/4 inch square is a little bit different size than we've been able to get out of our previous tools. It's kind of that in-between size. I do not have the old, I think they were called shape makers. I don't have those to be able to compare for sure, but I think they were a little bit different sizing wise. But this square definitely makes it super, super easy. So just keep punching, put them into place. I think that's going to be kind of what I've got going on. I'm looking to see, I don't know that I like the purple and the blue next to each other. I think they grab too much of your attention. So we'll separate those. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at this from my overhead cam, and it's really great because I can really see what's catching my eye. Like I can tell I need to move these 2 pieces here, shouldn't be so close to each other. They need to be separated a little bit more. So I think that's about a nice even spacing of things looking at it. I wish you guys, I can tell in the overhead camera, you guys can't really see how nice the colors do look, but it is a really just a fun set of colors to go with this. So now that I've got things kind of figured out, what I need to do, and I probably should have done it before I even got started, I've totally gone off kilter here with these directions. They have a lot more details in here that are very specific to the collection that they use, the Scrap Happy 2. So you could go, you know, you have to kind of read the directions on if you're going to do the Scrap Happy and use all of the different embellishments that were used in the sample. You kind of need to follow along because they use a custom cutting system to do some things. So they want you to go ahead and make all those pieces and put them all the way around the middle. What I'm actually going to do first is I've got all my pieces kind of on here, figured out. I'm actually going to go ahead and put down my 7.5 inch square mat from step 5. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the middle. I want to line it up. I think it's going to make it easier for me to place all these other pieces once I have that square in this middle figured out. So I'm just going to move my photos. I'm going to come here and make sure that I've got my paper lined up. And then my 7.5-inch square, it should line up at, let's see, so 7.5, I've got 4.5 on each side, which would be 2.25. I should come over 2.25 from all the edges, and that should be the center here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab, I'm just going to use my ruler, 2.25. This, what I do here though is I'm going to flip my ruler around, line up my 0 up here at the top to the 2.25. So I'm 2.25 inches in from the left. Come down here, 2.25. And then what I'll be able to do, I'm going to use my, get some adhesive on my paper here. I've got the 0 of my ruler right here at the top. So what I'll be able to do is I'll be able to come down to 2.5 inches on, or 2.25 inches on my ruler here. My straight edge is lined up at 2.5 top to bottom. So theoretically, when I put my paper on, if I line up this top corner at 2.25 inches there, I should be placing this right in the middle of my paper. Now, before I get super like happy pushing everything down, I'm going to do a quick check. Come here at the bottom, 2.25 to 2.25, and I look pretty good. So I'm happy with the placement here. I'm going to go ahead and put it down. Now it starts to be that matter of just putting everything into place. And I have a good idea now here to center between the top, the border. I know how far to come in to get things spaced. Because you really do need to, well, I got to figure out if I can totally center it. I may not be able to. But I'll at least be able to maintain the same margin. It looks like I'm going to be about 1/4 inch from the edges. So they don't really, in step 4, they don't really give us, they just tell us to adhere all the squares as shown. They don't really tell us about the spacing here, like what spacing do we need around the outside edge. It looks like it's going to be about 1/4 inch. And that should get you the spacing that you want all the way around. About 1/4 inch from the outside edge. It looks like you maybe have just about 1/4 inch, maybe a little over 1/4 inch on this inside, but that looks to be good. So I'm going to put these on. Once again, double check that I like my placement. I see there was a comment about putting these pieces more in the corners. And I think I like them a little bit more random. I have more than just 4. I guess if I were to punch some more that I could, I'm going to use repositionable adhesive. And if I need to pull one off and put something else in its place, I definitely could. Like, I don't know that I'm 100% sold on the butterfly down here. Maybe I want to go with this bumblebee, because he sure is cute. And I know I've got bee elements that I can include. Yeah, I think I like the bee down there a little bit better. So we'll see. Once I start putting pieces in place and I work on the embellishments, if I need to swap something out, I can. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to go with this concept of right up at 1/4 inch above all the way around. That's the margin I'm going to maintain, is that 1/4 inch all the way around. I am going to grab my T-square ruler for this. Line it up at 1/4 of an inch. And start putting them down. So this is, I'm going to use repositionable adhesive for this. I recommend that just because it will make things easier if you do need to move. So I've got that first one placed. I'm going to double check this margin. Yep, I look good. I look right. I do have, in this corner down here, I've got the 1/4 inch on both sides, which is what I want. Now what I'll do is I'm actually going to place this corner piece over here. And then it's all about just centering things, spacing them between. Double check this corner. Looks like I maybe need to come in just a little bit. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip these over. Put on some adhesive. I can see my 6-inch line in the middle. I need one on either side of that 6-inch line. So I'm going to place those first. I'm not pushing down real hard. I'm just kind of gently putting them into place. Gives me ability to still move them around if I need to. I really just want equal spacing between them. Like I can tell on this side, I'm a little bit more squished over here, so I need to move these down just a little bit. Okay, those look good. I'm not looking for perfection. I am just looking for good enough. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees and work this other side the same way. So I'm going to put I just have to remember that I'm working to the side. So I've got to make sure when I'm putting my pieces down now that kind of that stripe pattern is more horizontal. My birds are going to go bottom down. Double check my birds. They should be 1/4 of an inch from this side here. And they look to be pretty good. So as you can see, the T-square ruler definitely helps. You can do it with a regular ruler. The nice thing about the T-square is it does automatically line up with the edge of the cutting mat. Let's see. Start with the ones that are kind of on either side of that 6-inch. And get those put into place. All right. Once you do the first few, you kind of start to get the hang of it. And then after you get all these placed, the fun part begins where you get to add different embellishments, play with your punches. A lot of the regular punches will work. They fit pretty well. Some of them maybe overlap or they feel a little bit tight on the 1 3/4 inch. That's going to line up well. Yeah, the 1/4 inch definitely seems to be your 1/4 inch from the outside edge. That would be what I would recommend. Just getting these final pieces put in place. Like I said, this one, it takes a little bit more time to get these pieces in, but then the fun can be had. Now, what's nice here is I've already got those 2 pieces put, and since I double checked, I should be at 1/4 inch. I'm pretty close. Definitely good enough. Put the adhesive on the back side of all of these, and this side should come together pretty quickly. This would be a great one to do scraps with. You could go, I mean, I stayed pretty, you know, had 5 or 6 different colors that I chose from, but you, of course, you could make every single one of these different if you wanted to. I was really tempted to do some summer photos and really just go through I have one big project folder that's got like all these little bits of summer pieces from various collections, and really just have fun going through the scraps and just punching a bunch of different scraps. But I came across these photos and I thought I needed to use those. So that's what I went with. All right, so now everything's on here pretty good. If I need to make adjustments, I can, but you can see I've got a pretty nice of everything all set to go. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach my photos that will let me get a better feel for when I'm putting on my embellishments, how things are looking overall. I think it can be a little difficult sometimes to embellish too much without your photos. Your photos really kind of help you dictate when enough is enough and how much do you want to do, where do you want to put things, of course, overlapping the photos with any stickers or other embellishments. I think these photos are from something like 2008. Yeah, these are definitely 2008 because I'm pretty certain, probably spring of 2008. Could be fall. We lived in Arizona at the time, so I can never tell you exactly what season is based on my kids' clothes because we wore shorts and t-shirts for like 8 months of the year. So I couldn't tell you this could be September, this could be April. I'm kind of going on hair length. So I'd say a question about like the butterfly punches are all the other punches. Those are now going to be added on as accents. Oh, the butterfly one. Yes. Sorry, over here. I swapped it out. I decided that that butterfly was just a little too attention grabbing. And so I went with the bumblebee right here. So now it's a matter of coming through here and figuring out what I want to do for the punches. So I punched some darker, some contrasting. Got like the dragonfly. He's a little dark. I do have the sun. The sun is in the same yellow. I mean, the backside, I could come in the backside here. I've got the butterfly. I don't think I punched the butterfly in anything. And of course I can go get cardstock and start punching things, or shimmer paper. That might look really pretty too. Grabbing some scraps of shimmer paper. Here's the butterfly. If I wanted to include that somewhere. If I need to move pieces around, I can. I've also got stickers from the National Scrapbook Day. So there are some little additional pieces in here, whether it be the flowers, the little, and I think I was going to use the Hello Sunshine and just put that right in the middle. I'm not 100% set on that, so I'm not going to put it on quite yet. I might decide to use the custom cutting system and put a little border around it. But it really just, I mean, at this point now, it's just a matter of coming in. Maybe do I want the butterfly over here with the flowers? And really coming in with those little bits of details to, this one may actually punch the butterfly. I did punch the butterfly with this, and I don't know where it went. This has a nice darker purple to it, so you can see it a little bit better. So that will be the going around and adding these details. Figure out what I want to do with the sun punch. If I'm going to grab my, if I'm going to grab the, oh shoot, the bumblebee punch. That's what I was thinking. If I decide I'm going to grab the bumblebee punch, just coming through and picking out little things. I don't want to overwhelm it. Of course, I've got the little stickers. It's kind of big for that one. Maybe I'll go with a smaller bee. The little bumblebee there matches the little bumblebee over here. So obviously some more details. This starts to be where it gets into those little details, which sometimes take me a little while to put together, to figure out. I do have to make the decision if I want to swap out. I don't know if I want my sunshine on here. I might need to come in and swap out to get a little bit of a lighter background. That was my only thing that I might need to swap out to put in the sunshine. Because to get the sun to really pop on there, I think I need to have a lighter background behind it, not so tonal. So that might be a consideration here, that I swap out, make some little adjustments and put 2 of those sunshines in there. And I'll get that figured out. Got one there. I feel like I need one more. But I don't necessarily want them next to the birds. So we will play with this a little bit more. So we'll see a little bit on this. I'll get some additional details, and I'm not necessarily so concerned that I've got to have something in every one of these. What I'm really just wanting to do is just have a nice spacing of them. I think these dragonflies might be a little too dark. So I'm going to have to to look at those a little bit closer and figure that out. So I'm going to play a little bit more with it to figure it all out, but I'll probably leave that for now. I mean, just imagine there is going to be a sticker in the middle that is going to be that. I'm not so worried about a lot of journaling on this one. These are just cute little photos. I have no idea. Well, actually, I know they're playing with I feel like there's a whole set of these photos, and I'm just going to say that some of the photos, based on what she's chewing on, which is a pool diving stick, look a little bit questionable. So I focused on these four because otherwise I feel like I have to explain what it is they're chewing on because it looks a little interesting in person. But they have a pool dive stick that they're kind of messing with in the backyard. So I'll probably just do something like this, and maybe even in one of these little corners, I could do a little bit of journaling or just put the month and the year. I'm going to have to go back and find the specific date of this. I'm pretty certain it's 2008. I just cannot remember what year, I'm trying to remember what their 2-year-old birthday photos look like. And I think this is maybe more closer to 18 months. So this might actually be spring of 2006. So I think that's going to be probably good for our video here. I will, of course, take a picture of it when it's all said and done and have it available for you guys to see. So we'll switch up here back. So thanks for joining me this morning. As you can see, this is a great layout. It takes a little bit of time to get all those pieces put. Try different shapes. I mean, we did the squares. You could do circles. You could do the hexagons if you wanted to. Just play around with it a little bit and see what you like. Mix and match. You could do circles. You could do some squares in there. The squares and the circle punch, especially are size the same. So the height or the diameter of the circle punch is 1 3/4 inches. So just like the square punches. So if you're mixing and matching those, you know they're going to work really, really well together. So that would be a great option for you to do there. But yeah, it's a fun little layout. I thought it'd be fun, nice to put together today. Pretty easy. Like I said, takes time to get everything spaced right, but the rest of it was easy, right? Not a lot of measurements. So, all right. I think that's all I've got for you guys today. I do have a fun weekend planned. I've got my in-person retreat for the President's Day weekend. The downside to that is my son's coming home. So I'm going to miss him here at the house, but I'm hoping he'll come over and say hello to us for our scrap weekend, maybe get some food. You know how those weekends are, right? You have just tons of food. So I basically need a college kid to come help eat some of the extra food I know we'll have. And next week for Scrapbook Live, we will be doing borders. I don't know what borders yet. I'm going to look through the blog and find some that we can learn some new techniques with. There's always some great ideas out there. So we'll put that together for next week. But I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week, a wonderful scrappy weekend, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks so much for watching.